Good morning. This is Pastor Ernie Lewis of the Blue Point Church in Sisney, Illinois, with your thoughts for Tuesday. This week we're talking about passages where the Lord is praying for his followers. Yesterday he prayed for Simon Peter in Luke 22. Today he prays with us. In Romans chapter 8 and verse 26 it says, "Likewise the Spirit also helps in our weaknesses, for we do not know what we should pray for as we ought, but the Spirit himself makes intercession for us with groanings which cannot be uttered. And now he who searches the heart knows what the mind of the Spirit is, because he makes intercession for the saints according to the will of God." Yesterday's weakness was in Simon Peter. He was facing a particular temptation, and Jesus said, "I prayed for you." Today's weakness is when we don't know how we should pray as we ought to. Prayer is such a powerful force in the life of every believer. Someone has said that prayer ought to be our steering wheel rather than our spare tire that we only pull out in cases of emergency. And we know that prayer is one of those things that the Lord has taught us so much to do, and yet knowing exactly how to pray in some instances is difficult, to say the very least. We don't always know God's will in some circumstances. We're at a loss, praying to God, perhaps to move contrary to his will and his work. It is at those times that the Holy Spirit steps into our lives, making intercession for us, he says in this passage, praying in the way that we should be. The Bible calls this groanings which cannot be uttered. We struggle sometimes to articulate our prayers and our heart's desire and our deepest emotions. That's when the Spirit of God steps in. And he sees our hearts, he knows his will, and he speaks the words that perhaps we cannot. Certainly, God knows what his will is to be accomplished in our lives. And he searches our hearts to see that we seek for those same things. That's when he makes intercession for us with those unspoken groanings. He goes on to say that he makes intercession for the saints according to the will of God. After all, this is what we wanted in the first place. This is what we were asking for, but we sometimes didn't know how to ask it. Jesus taught us these things in the model prayer when he said we should pray, "Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." So if that is really our prayer to accomplish his will in our lives, even our prayers, sometimes the Spirit has to step in. Have you ever heard someone pray this magnificent prayer and you say, "Wow, I wish I had said that"? Well, that's where the Spirit steps in. And perhaps to the Lord, that is what you said. Those are the kind of things that you prayed for. He articulates our prayers at a time whenever we cannot. And that's what the Spirit of God does for us, making that intercession during our prayer life that makes it so pleasing to God.